I'm live. Yes, I think I'm live. Okay, good morning, people who are here. I can see a few in the chat. Ali from Masterton in New Zealand. Someone from Maitland, not far away. Scotland. Nelson. Some Kiwis here, which is nice. Canadians. The Netherlands. I like to read, if you can bear with me. Someone from the UK. Bury St Edmunds, Germany. Hang on, it's going too fast. Where are we going? Oh, we're going all over Mexico, Maxville, Australia, Queensland, Tassie. Quite a few Australians this morning. Good morning. It's a nice morning here in New South Wales. California, UK, Philadelphia, Michigan, Virginia. I've lost it because everyone's come. So it's gone all the way from Oregon, Poland, down to Chile. Wow. It's amazing, isn't it, that we're all here from all over the world. Wow. Someone's from Palestine. Amazing. Grafton, Sweden, Albania, Massachusetts. So lovely to see you all from all over the world. How are you all doing? I imagine there's all sorts of emotions out there at the moment, not just in the States, but from all over the world. Interesting times we live in. But as our second commenter on the chat username checks out, all is well. Believe it or not, all is well, and all shall be well. All shall be well, all is well, and all manner of things shall be well, said Julian of Norwich. So whether you find that difficult to believe or whether it's not impacting you at all, the purpose of coming here today to connect with each other from all over the world, and imagine with mixed feelings in the heart. Everyone will be in a perhaps slightly different place. Welcome to Still Seeker from Nairobi in Kenya. It's amazing to think that there's people tuning in from all these countries. And each country has its own karma, individual karma. Each person has its individual karma. But I guess as a way of stilling the waters, quietening the heart, what we can take refuge in is the irrefutable law of karma. So without wanting to veer anyway in terms of the political spectrum, because that's not what I'm here for, and it's certainly not what we as monastics are encouraged to do. It's much more important to go deeper and look at the bigger picture. But just on a very basic level, I guess what I can say is that the life you've all led thus far, you've probably seen from your own direct experience how karma works. And sometimes karma is very quick to come back to us and show us the results of our actions. So it could be, we get angry with someone and straight away we get the resultant karma in all sorts of ways. And the most pronounced is the feeling of suffering within ourselves, of the heat, the fire, the pain, and then so-called externally, we will receive the karmic consequences of that. Sometimes karma is a little slower to bring full fruition, but the one thing that we Sorry, Jim's saying the connection's poor, is it? Just let me know if there's a problem. I don't know if I can fix it. I'm just tethering on my mobile, so I'm really in the hands of the gods here, whether I get a good signal, but it is a nice day. Okay. All right. So it could be just for you, Jim, that your connection. Thanks for letting me know. So anyway, I was just going back to karma. So I think I was just going to encourage you all to take refuge in, and it is a truth. You know, it's not a belief, but maybe for some people it's a belief at this stage, but it shouldn't be, because you've all lived a life and you've all had a direct experience of how karma plays itself out in your life, so that what you put out there, you get back, you know. And you put out kindness and generosity, it comes back. You put out hatred and deceit, it comes back. So that's just a way of saying trust in karma in terms of the bigger picture of things, and turn that trust mainly towards yourself, so that you're living a life of integrity. You're getting the results of your actions, and trust that the universe will sort other things out. The universal law of karma will sort things out. So, and Julian of Norwich had that direct mystical opening and experience, if you've read any of her works. And through her mystical experience, she was assured that everything is well and all will be well. And that was just, and she received that in her consciousness through her faith in Jesus. And that was his message to her. So she was able to, because, you know, she went through some pretty dark times as well, as all mystics do, of doubt, of fear, uncertainty, facing her demons, her inner demons and the outer demons, if we want to put it that way. And then the encouragement was simply to come back and rest in the truth of, the foundation that she was pointed to was the foundation of love. And what does that mean? That's what we're here to discover in this human existence, what that truth of love really means. And unfortunately, the word love has been bastardized, if you like, and distorted. But if we can access that core energy, for want of a better word, through direct experience, then we really come to understand it, and understand what Julian of Norwich and the other mystics and masters are all pointing to. And just a few more words before we sit together in a more silent space. You know, it's the same with Ramana Maharshi assuring people that, all will be well. He said the same thing in different words, but that there is a force that helps you get back on your feet again after a fall or confusion, or what's often called the dark night, not knowing where we're going. So that's all I can offer and say in terms of words, but you have to see that directly within yourself. And what does that mean? It means trusting your intuition, learning to take refuge in something much higher, much deeper than what we see on the surface level of things, whether that be in the political spectrum, the economic spectrum, the family spectrum. All is not what it appears to be by a long shot. And this is the point of practicing and undertaking a spiritual path, to realize this. But, my words are fairly useless Any words are useless. You have to see it for yourself. And then often you can't put that into words, but you know it. Okay, so enough of a Sunday sermon. It's like a Sunday sermon from me. And yeah, and we're not here to get into arguments about metaphysical arguments. You don't have to believe anything I say, whether you believe in karma or not. And someone's saying Julian of Norwich didn't believe in it. So, they're not the words that were being spoken by Julian or Saint Teresa. They had other words like grace, destiny, but, so let the words go. Look at where it's coming from, particularly, this idea that I've got to be right and I've got the right view about life, religion, and everything. This is what I'm encouraging people to do, is put that down. And if you don't like the words, let them go, or let me go. But really let yourself go. That's the only way you're going to get to the end of suffering. So, having given this Sunday sermon, we don't call it a sermon, see? It's all sorts of words. Come together and take a comfortable seat. Some will call it prayer, some will call it meditation, some will call it contemplation, some will call it sitting in stillness. Whatever you want to call it, the point is to let go of who you think you are, what you think you are, what you think you know, particularly at the intellectual, rational level, and really just start to let go. Okay, so I'm going to turn the chat off now while we're in sitting, because it's just a distraction. It doesn't really serve much of a purpose sometimes, so particularly when we're trying to sit in silence. So hopefully you can all hear me. I'm sure you will let me know by now. And you can either sit with your eyes closed. I'll probably close my eyes. It's a bit glary in here. Or you can keep them gazing on a point. And just know that from time to time I'm not going to be speaking. So those silences aren't an indication of losing the stream. It's just me being quiet. Okay, so don't panic. So I invite you all just to turn within. This is the only direction we need to go. And to begin with, just start by noticing what's happening for you at so many different levels. Notice the mood you're in. Which can be very subtle and difficult to pinpoint, and of course it keeps changing. But sometimes there's an overarching mood, different emotions. Just notice what they might be for you right now. They're often reflected in the random thoughts that pop up. Again, they can be very subtle, somewhat subconscious thoughts. Notice the overall feeling, sensate experience of the body. And turn your attention to coming into that body, to this body that we have as a teacher. And allow the attention to be grounded in the body, noticing its weight, vibrations, different temperatures of warmth or coolness. Be interested to know what's going on within you, rather than always turning outwards to the world, to the events of the world, which simply give rise to more confusion, more uncertainty. The Buddha said that in this fathom-long body is where you will find the arising of the world and the ceasing of the world. And that's a statement that is exceedingly profound. But don't try to figure it out with your intellect. Just come to your breath now and notice if you're breathing, because you may be actually holding and contracting your breath. So let your breath be soft, be natural, and take a deep breath or a few deep breaths as a way of just helping you center and come into this present moment. Whatever clouds are floating through the mind, just wake up to them. Don't drift away with them. But as you wake up and notice the distractions, the concerns, or any anxieties, notice how they naturally dissolve. Allowing whatever comes to come, whether that be sounds, thoughts, feelings or bodily sensations, memories. But don't get lost in them. Don't drown in them. or run with them. Simply take your seat, your seat of wakefulness. Everything swirls around you, constantly coming and going. But you can step out of this karmic stream by simply settling and remaining silent as the silent observer and witness. So that you're not stirring things up. And things can come naturally to cessation and peace. You have to look, and you have to keep looking at how you keep creating yourself, your sense of self. Each thought, each reaction, every view and opinion, it keeps this samsaric stream going, this illusion of a self. We keep perpetuating it ourselves. And we turn the mind outward at things that appear, appearances, and grab them, believe in them, and concretize them. We are creating the world with our very mind. And as that solidifies, the clouds grow darker, and there's more and more of them, so that the sun of awareness is obscured, and we get lost in the storms, the stormy sea of samsara. And that's not to say that appearances don't appear. or don't exist. They do, but not in the way we interpret them or cling to them. A cloud has no real substance. Likewise, these appearances have no real substance. Let them go. Don't believe in them as me or mine, as self or even other. Otherwise, you'll just drown and get caught in confusion. So come back home to your own home. And things will work themselves out. In a much more peaceful way. Ajahn Brahm often uses the metaphor of the driverless bus. We need to realize that there's no one here really driving the bus. No one single entity that we can point to as me or mine. And when that wisdom really dawns, when we really get it, when we grok it, then awareness just sits back, takes its seat in the bus, not behind the wheel, just as a quiet observer. And the bus drives itself. And the journey is peaceful. We hit some potholes. So what? It's part of the journey. We stay seated. We see some beautiful scenery. So what? It's part of the journey. We drive through some torrential rain and storms. So what? Just buckle up. Stay seated. Let go of the great delusion that says, I'm driving this bus. I'm in control. I'm going to get what I want, go where I want to go. Just sit at the back and allow things to unfold without judging, without liking, disliking, pushing or pulling, controlling. And see how peaceful the journey becomes. And as you really start to get that and see that in your direct experience, in the depth of your heart, then you'll understand what Julian meant when she said, all is well, and all manner of things shall be well. It's a profound, profound truth. And the paradox is that very seeing and spiritual understanding does actually affect outcomes. And how things unfold. But it's not me doing it. You can call it karma, you can call it grace, you can call it the divine plan. It doesn't matter what you call it, because it's not the words. You can call it the Dharma or truth. Perhaps that comes closest. But ultimately, it's something that only you can know for yourself. And the way that it's often known as a deep peace. as an unshakable peace. A deep silence, stillness. Regardless of where the bus goes, the scenery, the bumpiness, this unshakable peace remains just as it is, always. So this is our only refuge, true refuge. So as we come out from more of a formal sitting still and quiet, if you've got a sense of that truth within yourself, even just a glimpse of it, you recognize that it's not going to go anywhere when we open our eyes and begin to speak and engage. But the learning is in recognizing it constantly. Whether you're sitting in meditation or engaging, working, moving. You keep coming back to that recognition. So I'll come back to the chat thing, turn it on, and if people have any questions about the meditation or related, we have some time. I'm not sure if there's any questions already. Yeah, so the last question that was on the thread before we went into meditation was that the great masters, and they always speak about the essence of existence or truth is probably more accurate, which is beyond the current present conditions and positive and negative outcomes. Yeah, so I didn't even see that when we went into the meditation, but that's the essence of it. So it's innate. It's not anywhere else but within ourselves to recognize. Okay. So Yulian had a question, but I think you're probably typing it somewhere else. Elizabeth says, and if it gets a little bit too much, I'll just stop the chat thread so I can stay with it because I'm already starting to lose it. Hang on. I think if I do my mouse, I can make it keep still, I think. Yep, I think so. Oh, no, I can't. Bear with. I see a question. Crikey. Elizabeth, I had lots of energy moving through my body, like warmth and vibration. What is that? It's just energy moving through your body. It's warmth and vibration. Why does it have to be any more than what it is? You just notice warmth, vibration. What it is life. This is what we don't even know we're alive sometimes. This is life living itself. Now, what we do when we feel something, we go, oh, that's interesting. I'm not saying you do this, Elizabeth. I'm just using this as an example. That's special. That's good. That's bad. And we start putting labels on something that's simply life, aliveness. So it's like you think of a baby is aware, it feels the warmth, the vibration, the tingling, the squishiness in its nappy, the hunger, it screams for food. It knows, the body knows when it's comfortable, when it's not comfortable. But it doesn't make more of it than it is. It's just life living itself. And this is what is really important to do in meditation, is just come back to the basics of being alive without the labels or the interpretations, because then it's just analysis and head stuff. And then we start to just identify with this conditioned interpretations of everything. So we're once removed from life because we end up in our heads going, oh, this is that, that's this is, or this is God, or this is that. And we have all these labels, and they become labels. They don't become the pure experience. So just be alive, everybody. Feel it and let go of all the labels, interpretations, analysis. Okay. So Chris underneath is saying substitutes. I'm not sure what that means, but how can you resist talking to them as a human self with a name and a birthday as a me? Yeah, you don't have to. This is the relative world. I have a name, you have a name. My name's changed in my lifetime. I wasn't always Jayasara, but we don't believe it in the essence that is who and what we are. We're not our bodies, we're not our birthdays, we're not our appearances. They're just vehicles, aren't they? They're just names and labels, ways of being able to communicate. But if you believe that they are truly who and what you are, then you will suffer for obvious reasons. So we use these ways of communicating with wisdom. Most people take them literally and attach to them. And that causes all sorts of problems. That's why we come into conflict. But, again, it's something that you have to see directly, quite deeply. Okay, Fred, thank you for your love. I like your circle. I think I've used that in my Haviz reading. Hermit Mouse says, do we have any control at all? Question is, who's this we? This is what needs to be investigated. This assumption that there is a singular me, mine, is the problem, because that mirage, delusion, we believe that there's an individual entity that's in control. But what that meditation was trying to point to, and I do my best to point to it. I can see it for myself, but I can't make others see it, can I? So I have to just use words. Is to recognize that there's not a discrete entity that's a hermit mouse. That's not even your name, obviously. Let's call you John or Julie. There's not a Julie or a John that I can point to and say, this is who you are and you're in control. But what you can recognize is that there is something deep within you that goes well beyond this limited view of who you are. And that actually doesn't have anything to say or judge. It simply knows. So if you want to talk about control, but I don't even like that word control, but if you want to, but you could say power. If you want to really get back to your power, your true source or true power, that's where you have to keep turning inward to recognize that and let that take control. But it doesn't even try and control things. That's the thing. But you're in control. You're in your real power because you don't care what happens anymore. It doesn't mean you're a vegetable and that you don't act for the good, but it's spontaneous. You're not trying to manipulate things or spending all your time planning how to get what you want, because you trust in, for want of a better word, a higher power within you. And that is actually, I don't want to say control, and I don't want to say determining, because both those words are problematic, because then we become deterministic. Although Ramana did talk about destiny, didn't he? Destiny. But it allows things to unfold, and then it trusts it will act spontaneously in the best ways possible when we let go of this delusion that it's all about me and mine and my needs. It's hard to explain it. You have to see this. So Julian did put the question there. It says, in which way do relationships exist and in which way don't they exist? When I sit to meditate, everything falls away and almost anything really holds meaning and stops to be there in a way, except for when I think about it. Exactly. So relationships exist in our minds in the way that we think about them and create them. And that's not to say we'll stop doing that and don't have relationships and become extreme and say it's all just me create. I mean, it is you creating the world, but recognize that and create a better world by seeing with wisdom. But recognize that the perception that you have of someone else is really our own perceptions, because everybody sees everything differently. It's not to say also that we don't have a shared view of certain things, but it's so it's just saying that Ajahn Chah used to say it's right, or it's true but not right, or right but not true, right but not true, true but not right. So things are in relationship, but not in an ultimate sense. They're all created through interconnection, interdependence, and fundamentally through our own mind, labels and perceptions. So it's great. You sit to meditate and the whole world falls away. When you go to sleep at night, I woke up this morning, one of mind just naturally contemplates, doesn't it, when you're practicing? And it's like the world completely dropped away. There were a few random dreams, some of which I was aware of. But I didn't cease to exist. But the world as I know it or create it ceases to exist. So in that liminal state, you recognize that the world is created through consciousness coming into being, and all the complex, conditioned ways that we live in the world through our bodies, feelings, perceptions, and so on. It gives rise to the world, the sense of the world. It's something to keep looking at and contemplating, but not trying to control. Just notice and allow these insights to come as well. So that's a great insight. When you sit to meditate, everything falls away. And you said, and almost anything really holds meaning. I think maybe what you meant to say was almost nothing really holds meaning, or meaning interpretation drops away and it stops to be there in a way, yeah. But it comes back when I think about it, exactly. And that's not to poo-poo that, because we need to think about so that we can be functional. But we need to need to recognize how when we think about the world, we create the world. We create distinct identities and relationships so that we can function. But if we don't investigate that and see how that process is created, we take it on face value. So that's some great insights, Julian. Oh, I'm going to have to, I think, bear with. I'm going to just turn the chat off for a sec so I don't get completely lost in it and lose the thread. Just going back to find the next question. How do we practice living without control? Well, I'm not sure if you were here in that meditation. You may or may not have been, but that was exactly what I was pointing to. And so I don't want to repeat myself. Perhaps if you missed the meditation or you weren't paying attention during the meditation, you might go back and listen to it and sit down and turn in and apply what I'm saying, because that's exactly what I was encouraging people to do. To sit at the back of the bus and let the bus drive itself. You stay awake, don't fall asleep, you know? Hello, this is Wendy. What is mind in Buddhism? Wow, that's such a big question. I can't really answer it in a quick chat, but Wendy, I don't know if you've been on my channel listening to the masters, but most of the teachings, particularly in the Dzogchen, not just in the Dzogchen, in all the teachers are explaining what the mind is. In a nutshell, the Buddha said, with our minds we create the world. Think or act with an evil mind and unhappiness will follow you. Think or act with a pure mind, with a good mind, and happiness will follow you. So you could say mind is our karmic stream. Mind is how we create and see the world through a very complex web of perceptions. It's called sankharas, reactions, latent tendencies, those sorts of things. It's at one level, very complex. And at another level, when you look at the mind, there's nothing there. The mind itself is an illusion. It's another appearance in consciousness. And it's also a word that we've come up with. I don't know how. There's mind, there's consciousness, there's this, there's that. So the best way to answer that question, I would say, is to look at your own mind, what you think this mind is, and investigate it. Because it doesn't matter what you read in a book or how clever someone is. It's not going to help you until you understand your own mind and how it works. Then you really understand the mind. Sally, hi, our refuge. Who is our or we? Escape to the refuge, ? Who? I'm just going to try and decipher this. I think you're meaning who escapes to the refuge, and what is, or who is our refuge? Who are we? Again, it's labels upon labels upon labels upon labels. Without the label, without the words and the thinking, what are you? Right now, ask yourself that question. If I drop these ideas, labels, perceptions, opinions, reactions, right now, who am I? What is the only thing that I can know right now? So, that's it. What do you find? Another word? Another idea? Drop it. Keep dropping it. If you drop it all completely, that's your refuge. I can't say it. I just know it. Okay, Julian's continuing on with his reflections. I just move on to some interesting reflection. In real life, can we make sense of that communal sense of belonging to that something that is truly there when you pay close attention? Can you make sense of it? I wouldn't try to make sense of it in an intellectual sense. I mean, plenty of philosophers have, and they're quite clever in the way that they write and articulate, seem to be pointing to it. But the greatest masters would just remain silent, because anything else is just words, nice sounding philosophies, clever sounding philosophies. When you really pay close attention, when you really know it in your heart, you're more likely to say nothing. Okay. Anne-Marie's having some strange things happening in her country in terms of the insects. Yeah, everything's changing. Everything's weird. The weather's weird. Sit on the back of the bus and just watch it. Look after your own heart. Be careful of your own integrity. Keep practicing to remain in peace. Spontaneous action will come that's, if we're practicing right, that's compassionate, that's wise. Just trust in that and let go of trying to control things. So Ben's saying, after some years, I now notice frequent gaps in thought. Good on you, Ben. That's great. And I've become present for a bit. Wonderful. Still, I spend most of my time ruminating. It's good you recognize that. Is there perhaps something more I can try to help with rumination? Okay, so this is the controller. What can I do so that there's not this rumination? So just recognize I'm always trying to control things. I'm always wanting something to be other than it is. But if you just look at the rumination, there's rumination, what happens? It stops for a bit. When you say, I got to do more, I got to look at that. I got to get out of this because I don't like this. I want to go to a better situation where I'm more peaceful in the future. Look at that. Because in that moment, there's no peace. When we're wanting peace, it's not peaceful. So wake up every moment that you see yourself ruminating. You wake up, it drops, happens again. So the key is patience and persistence, and not having an idea of when you're going to suddenly always be free of thought, right? Let go of that too, because that's just going down the opposite direction. Ruminating, I'm ruminating. It's okay. Wake up, it stops. So Wendy's asked another question, and I think, Wendy, you're leaning very towards the philosophical, which is okay, but it's not generally where I come from. Do we have free will? Again, it's the assumption that there's a me here having something. Let go of this me, or even the idea of free will or not free will, and see what happens. All those concerns and questions really do drop away profoundly when you just sit and watch. You're not even sitting and watching. There's just sitting and watching without the sitter. There's driving on the bus without a driver. So how would you even ask that question, do I have free will, when there's no one there to have free will? Things just unfold as they unfold. And that actually is very peaceful. Hi, Jayasara from Zero Zen. My head is always so busy and thoughts are constant. So mindfulness of thinking remains hard. I can't seem to watch from a distance and I keep getting drawn in. Any advice? I would encourage you to try some walking meditation. And also, if you're sitting for long periods of time, I don't know, you might be trying to sit for an hour or more, keep it shorter so that you have shorter moments of just, hang on, direct mindfulness. I had Jatinder and forgot that I was online, so she came to pay a visit. Sorry about that distraction. Keep it shorter and more direct, and try some periods of walking meditation where you're just in your body. Because if you're in your head all the time, there's a real need to come back into the embodiment, and thoughts then come down from the head into the body. So walking meditation, shorter periods, maybe chanting. I don't know your spiritual background, but chanting is also a skillful means because it keeps the mind focused on good things, good purity, okay, good intentions, good vibrations, whatever you want to call it. So that's why people chant or do a mantra. And they're always just skillful means to get into that point where all that stuff just drops away. But you don't make it drop away, it just drops away, and you find the emptiness and the stillness. And in that emptiness and stillness, it's not just, I'm just going to zone out in emptiness and stillness. You keep looking, you keep just watching, and things and insights come naturally. Don't know, that's a good username. Don't know says, have people reached enlightenment pre-history, well, pre-recorded history? Or perhaps most people were enlightened? Or is enlightenment an evolution of human consciousness? These are big questions that, I'm not qualified to answer. I don't have the mind of a Buddha. But of course, there's always been people who have woken up. It's also a question to ask yourself, why am I so concerned with this? Is it really a question that I need to spend my time ruminating over? Or is it just another distraction? Because if you know the answer or don't know the answer, it's not going to help you. It's a bit like, that famous story of someone gets shot by an arrow. And instead of taking the arrow out, the arrow represents suffering and confusion, stress. They go, now, where was this arrow made and who shot it? Was it a Frenchman or an Englishman? And what's it made out of? And they spend their time looking at the arrow and trying to figure it out. In the meantime, they're losing a lot of blood and strength, and they'll just die, not knowing. So pull the arrow out, go back and look at yourself. Look at what's really important to understand in this practice. And forget about all these big questions, philosophical questions, metaphysical questions. They're not important. They're simply distractions. You really got to go back to the fundamentals of this practice. And, there is suffering. Is there suffering in your life? In this moment, in the next moment? Is there unease? And that's what the Four Noble Truths are about. So even if you're not a Buddhist, you'll find that teaching in all the traditions is to understand what suffering's about and how to come out of it, to find the truth. Fred says there seems no point in all the questions. Well, if the questions you're asking are about trying to turn your mind to your direct experience in order to understand, then there can be helpful questions. So you just have to look at the questions. They're not all unhelpful. The other thing to say is, to recognize that whatever's presenting itself in your life and in the world and the bigger picture, it's all there as a teacher, isn't it? It's all there to help us wake up. We think we just want the good stuff to wake up, the peace and the nice stuff, or the quiet pieces, quiet states of mind, or the bliss, or whatever we're chasing. It's not what it's all about. It's the stuff that makes us feel uncomfortable that is often our best teacher, better teacher. So we take it all as our teacher, everything that presents in life. Chris is asking, I'm a teacher and I wonder how to speak to young children without always referring to their self. I wouldn't worry about young children because often they're not that concerned about themselves anyway. They realize it's just a terminology. I think the best thing to do with young children is to be as present, to learn from them, and to be as present with them as possible, and model letting go, not fixing to your own view of self as an adult, because that's when we become fixed. And children, unfortunately, start to become more fixed, But if you model and engage with them in a way that is very childlike and letting go of, believing in everything is fixed, and showing them kindness and generosity and, all those things, that's the better teacher. Don't worry about concepts too much. Children are light. They only start to become heavy as they enter adolescence and then adulthood. So Patricia's saying, so basically just ride the bus, observe and make no judgment. Yeah. However, you're not always going to do that perfectly. There will be judgments. I like it, I don't like it, or this scenery is ugly, this scenery I love and I want to stay in this scenery for more. Oh, it's changing now, I don't want it to change. You'll see those judgments and those reactions. Just observe those as well. because you won't be, we don't sit back and straight away have this perfect equanimity. That's quite natural. So you notice the reactivities and the judgments and the forgetting. You're going to forget that you're actually just the witness, the observer. So when you forget it for a while, something will wake up to it, and go back to your seat. When you think you're in control, the thing is, when you do think you're in control driving the bus, that's when you become tense. And you'll notice that. I'm tense because I'm trying to make things happen. So it's this sense of self comes up, this delusion of the me, creating all the wanting and the not wanting. So the tension will wake you up itself. You might be tense for a while. Just go back. Okay. And you start again. It's patience. The Buddha said that patience is the highest virtue. If you don't have patience on this journey, you'll never make it, because you'll just keep slipping back into wanting it to be another way. So, Julian, I think you're copy pasting the questions or something, but I think I've addressed it. Yeah. Okay. Where are we at? So I'm just going to get to the end of the questions, I think. And thank you for all your hearts and well wishes and gratitude. And I'm glad that what gets spoken out of this mouth is helpful for some people. If it's not helpful for you, that's perfectly okay. Don't know. Is there any true benefit to having an ego? Or is it a virtue for all to not identify with the singular self? Ego got Trump to the top of politics, for example. Is there any benefit? Any benefit? I wouldn't say it's a benefit. It just we need a sense of a functional personality, which doesn't have to be egocentric, in order to function in the world. Yeah. Those that don't have a healthy sense of a self, whether it's inflated or deflated, are the ones that suffer and cause a lot of suffering. But a healthy sense of self would really be knowing that we're not truly this personality. It's just a construct. And this is what contemplation and meditation is about, going back within and looking at how we create and have created that, and how it's been created through lifetimes, or this lifetime even. And when I say investigate that, I don't mean try and figure it out with your head. You just see it, how it plays itself out. So then you understand, this sense of self comes about through this way, mostly through thinking, and feeling and reaction. But that's not actually the whole picture. But if I can be light, like I said, children are light about their sense of self, very light. It's just a plaything. But they, deep down, they know that that's not who and what they are. But don't ask them to explain that. So someone's saying, thank you, Jayasara. As a CPA in New York, I don't know what a CPA is. Is that a chartered accountant? We have chartered something account. I don't know what a CPA is. CPA. In New York City, it's just also hectic. But the simple truth of life, being just life without all the labels, is so unspeakably gratifying. Wonderful. Yeah, so if you're a busy CPA, it can be hectic, but if there's something within you that's practicing to see that it's just, it's your particular life karma playing itself out, but you're not taking it all so seriously or so literally, and you see that the labels are just labels, and find your refuge in that, which is well beyond that. That's wonderful. Really happy for you. So Wendy's asking, are there any instructions for the upcoming retreat? Is there a session on Friday evening? I think you're talking about the retreat that we're doing at the Drogme Centre, Kamala Sheila, next week. Best to contact them, because we're not organising it. We're just turning up. But yeah, there is a session on the Friday. I'm not sure if you're enrolled to come, Wendy, but you need to turn up at 4, I think, or earlier. Anyway, check the website. Last question. Is the LGBTQIA++ community an example of what happens when one is karmically way too identified with labels and attachments to an identity? Yes, no, and I mean, you could have just put, is the man and woman community an example? Because any identity, man, woman, gay, straight, queer, lesbian, bisexual, plus, they're all identities. No need to point to others. Your own sense of yourself as a man or a woman or whatever you are is the same thing, But a lot of lesbians and gays might have a very light sense of it. It's not really who and what they are. Some might be deeply entrenched in it. However deeply entrenched we are with labels and identities, the more we'll suffer. But a lot of gay men are very light. It's a plaything. And a lot of straight men can be very serious about who they think they are as a straight man, so it's up to the individuals. But if you just take on those labels and identities without attaching to them, but recognize this is the way we engage in the world, and we have a choice too. But if someone says something against you as a straight person or as a not straight person and you react, then there's a real attachment to them. Or if you're offended by other people's identities, whether they're something outside of you or, they don't fit within your narrow view of what people should be, then that's a fixed identity too. So, if I go around thinking I'm a Buddhist nun and that I'm special and that the lay people, they're not, they're not as good as me because they're not monastics, I'm completely deluded. If I believe myself to be a Buddhist nun, then I'm going to get very upset about a lot of things in this world, within the Buddhist world too. Because on the surface, Buddhist nuns don't have a lot of standing. But then I can feel superior to other people. And then I can feel inferior. And then I can think that other people aren't as pure because they're not Buddhists. Yeah? And Christians are wrong or something like that, or Muslims are wrong. It's all just nonsense. So let go. It's none of these appearances and labels of what we are. And I don't go around telling other people that, that just let people figure it out for themselves. If they're ready to hear, if they want to hear, they can hear. If not, just let them Karma, they've got their own individual karma. So on that note, we shall leave it here. And in 3 weeks' time, I think Jatindriya will be leading the session. And whatever goes on in the world, sit back and find your refuge. And coming back to what we said at the beginning, if you can find that place of trust, that all is well, regardless of what happens, nothing needs to move us from our place of stillness and peace. And when I last thing, when I say stillness and peace, I don't mean that peace that comes and goes within meditation, the peaceful states of mind. I mean the unshakable peace, regardless of appearances. So even if there's reactivity happening, just know that. If the mind's ruminating, just know that. The mind's judging, just know that. And that's the only true refuge in life. So I wish you all much peace. Peace that surpasses understanding. And may the Master's teachings continue to guide and inspire you, and sending all blessings your way, even if you don't believe in blessings. But if you do open yourself up to blessings, you're more likely to receive them. Okay, sending much love. I'm doing the heart thing now. Not sure if it's showing on your screen. Okay, and we'll see you around. Take care.